Hello, my name is Aiden, and I'll be walking you through this poetry run today. To drink today, I've got a green tea with peach in my little cup that has a husky on it, wearing glasses and peering down them like a angry librarian. One of my favorites. Keeps my throat from hurting in the allergy season. We'll be going over a poem from John Keats, a poem from Plath, and then a poem from me. To start, we have To Emma by John Keats. O come, dearest Emma, the rose is full blown, and the riches of Flora are lavishly strown. The air is all softness, and crystal the streams, and the west is resplendently clothed in beams. We will hasten, my fair, to the opening glades, the quaintly carved seats, and the freshening shades, where the fairies are chanting their evening hymns, and in the last sunbeam the sylph lightly swims. And when thou art weary, I'll find thee a bed of mosses and flowers to pillow thy head. There, beauteous Emma, I'll sit at thy feet, while my story of love I enraptured repeat. So fondly I'll breathe, and so softly I'll sigh, thou wilt think some amorous zephyr is nigh. Ah, no, as I breathe, I will press thy fair knee, and thou wilt note that the sigh comes from me. Then why, lovely girl, should we lose all these blisses, that mortal's a fool, who such happiness misses? So smile acquiescence, and give me thy hand, with love-looking eyes, and with voice sweetly bland. Now, some things that I'd initially like to comment on are how this poem makes use of couplets. And it's a letter from one person to another, perhaps a couple. Now, Keats was not successful in his love life, in his professional life, none of it. He was very unsuccessful, very unlucky. So wouldn't you find it somewhat ironic for a person that's in such despair at all times, going through such horrible things, to be writing a poem that reads much like a love letter? Now, on that topic, I largely read this as a form of self-awareness as well, especially with the lines about the sigh that comes from him, and that mortal's a fool, who such happiness misses. Then why, lovely girl, should we lose all these blisses? I feel like he's in a fit of self-awareness, speaking on how if he wastes time feeling sorry for himself, he's not going to have any of these joys. Now, I could be completely wrong, but in my meaning of this poem, Emma is much like his positive views in life, whereas he is himself. He is the negative. He has all of the negative, and he's trying his best to hold on to this Emma. Now, overall, I do quite enjoy this poem. I have been known to derive my own meanings, much like an English teacher, in ways that are not the truth, but I definitely feel the contrast between his life, the romantic, beautiful imagery, and the possible chance of regret are big themes of this. Now that we've covered the Keats poem, we're going to move on to a poet that much more magnitude comes with, to many. Keats is one of my favorites, but many people prefer Plath, and many people actually just hate Plath. I'm going to take a moment to talk about this. I read The Bell Jar. I quite liked The Bell Jar. And I had gone through the strain of seeing some of the other reviews left on it on Goodreads. And wow. Just wow. Many were just because you're mentally ill is not an excuse to be horrible. Yes, while that is true, I don't think you read the book if that's your only takeaway. And then others say this is the most horrendous, racist, horrible novel on the planet. Sure, it uses some words that are unpleasant, but that's like reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and throwing the book out because it named a character an unpleasant name. As if that unpleasantly named character was not the main character of the book if you read it at all. It's his journey. It's Jim's journey through the book that we follow. Anyway, many of the reviews for The Bell Jar were very disappointing to me, and I feel like they miss that it is very real, very raw, and not in the way that people that watch their horror movies or that watch their smut or read their smut talk about it being real, because a lot of that's not stuff that's ever happening. People being down in ways we could never imagine, that's happening. No, someone is not just chaining someone up and going to town on them. No, that is not real. That's not raw. You're horned up and you don't want to admit it. But it's literature. No, it's not. Anyway, I replied to their reviews, which I shouldn't have, because it's like beating a dead horse, which I would never do. I love horses. And then I posted my own review, and a lot of the classics have come under that scrutiny. Now, I'm not saying that all of them are perfectly shiny, but maybe we take a step back and read it first before we make commentary on it in such great lengths. Such unneeded commentary as well. Anyway, let's get into Plath. This poem is Contusion, published in 1963. Contusion. Color floods to the spot, dull purple. The rest of the body is all washed out, the color of pearl. In a pit of rock, the sea sucks obsessively. One hollow, the whole sea's pivot. The size of a fly, the doom mark, crawls down the wall. The heart shuts. The sea slides back. The mirrors are sheeted. Now, this one's definitely more hard to digest initially. Contusion. That is not a word that you see often at all. But a contusion is a bruise, and this is a commentary on a bruise, obviously. Color floods to the spot, dull purple. The rest of the body's all washed out, the color of pearl. So you've got a very pale person who's got this dark, black, purple bruise on their body. And it seems to me that this person's been injured near the seaside. That's the closest explanation for me. They're the color of pearl in a pit of rock. The sea sucked them in. The whole sea has pivoted them. It may be small, but it's a doom mark. It's painful. Yet it's right next to this beautiful pearl. The mirrors are sheeted. Now, that line I'm not too sure about. Now, to be sheeted would just to be covered in something, but in this way, I feel like this could be trying to avoid seeing the bruise. We've been injured. We don't want to see it, though. Maybe we made this happen and we don't want to live with it. That's the meaning that I get from this, is maybe the bruise didn't actually come from the sea. Maybe we were in a situation we didn't need to be in, and then we end up regretting it after. Because to mirror a sheet would mean that you were trying to avoid something that you should not have done. or you don't want to see yourself. It's that dot of purple, even the size of a fly, that taints the entire form of the human being. It's one speck on a perfect painting. It's a mistake. That's what I'm gathering from this. Though that one we may have to revisit at a later time, because I don't feel like I'm giving it its flowers, perhaps. Its rose, as Keats put it previously. Now let's find another poem. Something simpler for my little brain. Let's do one that I've never read before. We'll go to a random page here. We'll do one that's a little bit longer. We're going to do Apprehensions. There's this white wall above which the sky creates itself. Infinite, green, utterly untouchable. Angels swim in it, and the stars in indifference also. They are my medium. The sun dissolves on this wall, bleeding its lights. A gray wall now, clawed and bloody. Is there no way out of the mind? Steps at my back spiral into a well. There are no trees or birds in this world. There's only a sourness. This red wall winces continually, a red fist opening and closing, two gray papery bags. This is what I am made of. This and a terror of being wheeled off under crosses and a rain of pitas. On a black wall, unidentifiable words swivel their heads and cry. There's no talk of immortality among these. Cold blanks approach us. They move in a hurry. Now, this poem, titled Apprehensions, a fear that something bad is going to happen, is clearly very dark. It's Plath. A gray wall, clawed and bloody. Is there no way out of the mind? Steps at my back spiral into a well. There are no trees or birds in this world. There is only a sourness. On a black wall, unidentifiable birds swivel their heads and cry. Everything in this is just terror. She's stuck in her head. She's stewing in such great anxiety that nothing good can come of it anymore. It's a chatter. It's a spiraling out. Two gray papery bags. This is what I am made of. This and a terror. Being wheeled off under crosses. She's, at this point, even fearing that she's going to be killed. She's going to die. She's going to be in such darkness. This, to me, feels like a religious apprehension, with the angels swimming in this white sky, this white above. And then on the black wall, all of this horrifying stuff is happening. This, to me, is her contemplating heaven and hell. Where is she going? She doesn't want to be walked through this funeral. She doesn't want to be stuck in this coffin, unsure of what's going to happen. Everything she's loved, all of the nature she's known is gone. No talk of immortality among these. Cold blanks approach us. They move in a hurry. And in those lines, she's entertaining that there is nothing. You have the red wall, you have the black wall, you have the gray wall, and you have a white wall. White wall, heaven. Gray wall, what I interpret to be purgatory. And then red wall, hell, and black wall, nothing. Nothing. And to live in such fear, to have such apprehensions, is to have no immortality at all. It is to be gone. To live in fear is to have already died. And that is what this poem is telling us. And they move in a hurry. Our life is short, and we can't spend it entertaining what's going to happen to us after. We can't have these apprehensions, or we're going to waste our lives away. We're going to waste our time that we do have. We need to appreciate the trees. We need to appreciate the birds, or they're going to be gone. We will be gone, and there will be nothing. Her medium is all of these beautiful things, yet the apprehensions still come back to get her about everything that could be, everything that couldn't be, everything that could be missing or there in its horrid self. And it captures it so well, this poem. I've never read it before, but I've fallen in love with it. It's so well put together in such a way where, without having said heaven, hell, purgatory, any of that, just in the idea of these walls, we know immediately what's going on. We can think of being surrounded by these choices, and yet none of them promise us what we may want. Now that's our Plath for the day. Possibly next time we talk about Plath, I'd like to read Event, because this one seems quite interesting. Now, that's Plath and Keats, and now for those of you that are poetry purists, this is where you'd want to stop listening, because now we're going to start getting into my poetry as well. Now, we'll start off with a poem that I wrote today, and then we'll cover a poem from my book, Tide, which is available at Mocha Lisa's Cafe, and Paper Moon. Now it's available at Paper Moon online. Anyway, done with the promo. Now, I have a horrible affliction, which is I am addicted to making dad jokes. So, the title of this poem is Serve Who? Now, when you hear server, my immediate first thought is the least funny thing of all time. Server, I hardly know her. So that's why the poem is titled Serve Who? And it's about a very unbusy restaurant. Here we go. Serve who? 3 waters filled, but all cups empty. Liquor still here, and the cash drawer empty. Music fills my ears, but only my ears. This restaurant's empty. It wasn't supposed to be empty. They call me a server, but serve who? It's not as if I'm serving God or serving myself. There's nobody to serve. So serve who? My wallet's empty, but the customers is full because they're not here. I got called in early and earlier, and I'll be here late and later. Just me. Now, this is an incredibly surface level poem, but I still love it. I've been in the restaurant industry for a while, and when I work a dead restaurant, it's just me and my head. That's it. The cups are empty. The waters could be filled. I fill the water jugs time and time again. On occasion, I'll end up just pouring out the water jugs just so I have water jugs to fill again. No one's buying the liquor. No one's coming to the bar. And I get to listen to the background music for hours. Only I hear it. There's no one else to hear it. The restaurant's completely empty. Everything is dull and stopped. So I think about this all the time, how it's so much. How there is so much, and so little of it ever makes its way to another. Now that's Serve Who. Now our next poem will come from my book, and I will find a quaint little one to read on here. So when I was a kid, I was always told that the most important thing was to be grateful. No matter what situation you're in, no matter what's happening, be grateful. And that to me stung. In a way, it was painful for a while. It was overwhelming what else was going on. So this poem is about that kind of feeling. It's called Eye-Altering Experience. It's on page 54 of Tide. The lighter that lies beneath your eyelashes shows you that life has gotten worse. While your lashes are far gone, your sight is not yet. Each second you burn is one you're reminded to be grateful for the tears that you once had. The drying of your eyes continues, and cracks form where veins used to be. A sense of bliss mists over you, a painful feeling to show you the grace that was missing before. For your body is still there, uncharred, even if it did take your loss of sight to see it. Now that's eye-altering experience, and in this, as you heard, this character, in this case me, is having their eye dried out. Your lashes that used to protect your eyes, they're gone. And the tears that used to cool your eyes, the tears that used to keep you hydrated, they used to keep you cool and safe, they're completely gone. But then you lose the nerves in your eyes. You lose your ability to see what was so troubling to you before. You find that grace. When a blind person wakes in the morning, they may think for a moment, I don't have my sight. And then they'll go on with their morning. They realize that there's more to what you can point out to not be grateful for. There's so much going on that doesn't require a complaint. The lighter that lies beneath your eyelashes shows you that life has gotten worse. We always have that saying, well, at least it can't get worse. Everything can get worse. Everything can always get better. Everything can be complacent. We would hardly know the difference. We want something to happen. But we need to be grateful for what we have and what we have had, no matter how painful it might be at the moment. Now, I have a degree in psychology, and I can tell you about the types of fun. There's type 1 fun, is fun, was fun in hindsight. There's type 2 fun, which wasn't super fun at the time, but is fun in hindsight. Now, if we can mold everything into type 1 or type 2 fun, then we're having a great life. We have a moment where we could volunteer at an animal shelter and get all scratched up, but in hindsight, we volunteered our time. We did something pleasant for another. And that sort of altruism rings true and positive for us later on. And obviously doing positive things at the time and feeling positive about them later are great too, but we don't want type 3, which is just negative. That wastes our energy, that wastes our time. An eye-altering experience should not be what we need, but for me, it was a reminder. It was a testament to how violent that sort of realization can be. And it's one of my favorite poems, but largely when I do readings of my book, people don't really comment on that one. Typically they go for Deep Orange, Staying Backwards, or Dust. Now, I'll do another poem for you here before we wrap it up a bit. We'll do a sweet one. Empty Autumn, page 17. A bitter air lit by a bright smile, maple in my coffee and a droning breeze. With yourself, it all seems fair that you be alone and not in a pair, like a tree with its leaves. The tree grows alone, but the leaves fall together, able to spread and produce life, but not quite receive. At least it's the joy that's seen, not the rot that lies beneath the green. Now, this is about fall, obviously, and fall is my favorite season. But it's also about loneliness in a way, but that's not particularly a bad thing. The tree grows alone, but the leaves fall together. You can't give the leaves back their life or bring them back to the tree, but they can spread the seeds of the tree. They can create such new and renewed beauty and peace to the world. And I find that's much like us as people. We can't give life back to the old in our life. We can't bring back dead people, but we can carry on what they've given us. Much like a leaf to a tree, a seed to the fruit-bearing plant. And it's the joy that's seen, not the rot. When you make your piles of leaves and you jump in them, you don't think about how that leaf is broken. You think about the beautiful green tree this leaf came from, how it turned into this beautiful orange after, this rich mapley scent that you get to play, and you get joy from that, from both what it grows and what it was. And I do put maple in my coffee, and I do love the breeze, and that's just one of my more positive poems, which there are a few. A lot of people cry when they more frequently read my poems, but to each their own. Literally, if you're a leaf, you might not get stuck with your own. But anyway, thanks for listening to my poem half an hour. Look forward to seeing you next time. And enjoy the lovely summer. It's summer at the moment. I'll bring some more anecdotes and some more fun poems of mine and others next time. And my personal thoughts, of course. Bye-bye.